Hi, I'm Lisa Steele. I'm an author, blogger, and fifth-generation chicken keeper. I live in rural Maine with my husband, flock of chickens and ducks, 2 dogs, an indoor-outdoor barn cat. We moved to Maine for the peace and serenity. We wanted a simpler life and to step back in time where there are still corner stores and your neighbors know your name. Welcome to my farm. Now that the holidays are over, it's easy to get excited about spring, but realistically, we might be looking at 4 more months of snow. So it's really helpful to have some indoor activities, knitting, crafting, sewing, a lot of garden planning. I know I keep saying that each season is my favorite season, but I really do love winter because I don't feel the pressure to be out in the garden or working on the lawn, and instead I can just kind of slow down and do some other things. I admit it is kind of hard to have so few hours of daylight, and some mornings I really just want to sleep in. But the nice thing about chickens is they don't wake up until the sun comes up, so I'm not getting up at the crack of dawn. It's 5 in the morning. It's a little bit later in the winter. Knowing that I have to get up to take care of them, feed them, water them, is a really good reason to get out of bed in the morning, get dressed, and knowing that there's a hot cup of coffee waiting for me when I'm done is great incentive. Shoveling paths for them through the snow so they get a little bit more exercise and fresh air is also another way that I get outside and kind of stay active in the winter. Come on, ducks. They also love treats like lettuce or cabbage, in addition to the regular scratch grains that keep them warm all winter. This is the first winter for the geese, and they adapted to the snow really well, and they're still wandering around the property, doing their job, guarding everybody and watching for predators. Eating seasonally and locally is really important to us, but here in the winter, obviously our choices are kind of limited. One thing I really do like to use in the winter is lemons. They are just so bright and yellow and citrusy, and they make everything seem fresh and the winter not seem quite so gloomy. Today on the farm, I have some delicious lemon recipes to share with you, a couple of fun DIY projects using lemons, and an indoor gardening tip. I've got all these lemons and I can't wait to get started cooking with them. First up, I'm going to make some lemon fritters that are going to be a great sweet ending to our meal. I'm going to make a lemon soup that also uses eggs, and I've got a fun way to make eggs for breakfast that is different from your scrambled or fried eggs. I love the zest of citrus, any kind of citrus, but today it's all about lemons. To get started, I have whisked my dry ingredients. I've got some flour, cornstarch, salt, and baking powder. Then I'm going to get working on the wet ingredients. I have sugar in my bowl, and into that I'm going to crack 4 eggs. I'm just going to give these a little bit of a whisk. I'm so glad we got new chicks this past spring because they're the only ones laying right now. So I had eggs for holiday baking, and now I've got all sorts of eggs to use through the winter. So that looks good. I'm gonna add in a little bit of vanilla bean paste. You can use vanilla extract, same thing. Now I'm going to add the juice and zest from 1 lemon. This is gonna give the fritters such a nice, bright flavor. And I'll just whisk all this together. Then I'm just going to slowly whisk in the dry ingredients. till I have a nice batter. So the last ingredient I'm going to add is some ricotta cheese. I have it draining in a bowl on paper towels to try to get out a little bit of the extra moisture. And I'll just stir this in until everything is nice and combined and not lumpy anymore. I'm just gonna whisk it a little bit to get those last few lumps out. Now that my batter's combined, I'm going to drop the fritters into the oil. It is up to about 370 degrees, 375 degrees. I like to use a small ice cream scoop for this because it makes nice fritters that are all the same size. I'm gonna do this in batches because I don't want to crowd them. So I'm just gonna do 5 or 6 at a time, flip them over a couple times. They don't take very long to cook, maybe just 2 or 3 minutes. You just wanna make sure that they're nice and golden brown. Then I'm going to drain them on paper towels on a wire rack. These fritters look great and they smell even better. So now I'm going to roll each one in some lemon sugar. I just took granulated sugar and put it in my coffee grinder with some lemon zest, pulsed it until it made this nice lemon sugar. Next, I'm going to make some lemon curd that we can use as a dipping sauce for the fritters. They're gonna be so good. Curd can be made out of any type of citrus. You can use lemons, limes, oranges, even pink grapefruit. It's sort of like a custardy pudding kind of thing. It's great on toast or English muffins. You can use it as a filling for donuts or tarts. It's gonna be a great dipping sauce for our lemon fritters. The curd needs to be cooked in a double boiler. It needs to cook away from the heat at a low heat so you don't curdle your eggs. So I have a pot of water with a bowl on top of it, kind of a makeshift double boiler, and I've already got my sugar in the bowl. So now I'm going to crack some eggs into the sugar and whisk them in. These beautiful eggs are from our French copper marrons. They are a breed from France, obviously, and they lay eggs that are almost chocolate brown in color. They're supposedly French chefs only like to cook with the marron's eggs. They think that they're superior, but really an egg taste and nutritional value is going to depend on how fresh the egg is and what your chickens eat for a diet. Happy chickens out eating bugs and weeds are going to lay the most delicious eggs with the brightest orange yolks. So I've got 3 lemons here, and that's gonna give the curd a really nice flavor. You're gonna want about a half a cup of juice total from whatever citrus fruit you're using. Blood oranges make a really nice curd, so you can kind of play around with different types of citrus. You want your curd to get up to about 180 or 190 degrees. You can do a spoon test also, which I'll show you in a little bit once it does get up to temperature. But this way I can just kind of eyeball it and see if it's getting close to being done. So now I'm gonna add my butter. I've got a stick of cold butter that I cut into cubes, and I'm just gonna add that a little bit at a time and whisk to make sure that it's melted in between each addition. We are just about at 180 degrees right now, and it's starting to come together, looking like pudding. The whisk leaves trails, and if I take my spoon, you can see that it coats the spoon really nicely. My finger leaves a path. So good, so easy, as you can see. I'm just gonna ladle some into my bowl and then serve it with the fritters. It's soup season. There's nothing like a bowl of warm soup on a cold winter afternoon. This soup recipe is almost just as fast to make as it is to open up a can of soup, and it's so much more delicious. I love this recipe because it combines eggs and some lemons and also leftover rice. Who doesn't have leftover rice at one point or another? So to get started, I'm just going to heat up a quart of broth in a soup pot. You can use whatever kind of broth you want, vegetable, chicken, beef, bone broth, just something that's got a little bit of flavor. And I'm just gonna bring that to a boil. Now I'm ready to add my other ingredients. I'm gonna add about a cup of rice. You can use white rice, brown rice, whatever kind of rice you have, cooked, leftover. Even if it has salt, pepper, butter, whatever in it, it's fine. Stir that up. Then I'm going to add some lemon zest. It'll give it kind of an unexpected burst of flavor that you don't normally expect in a soup. Then I'm just gonna add a little squeeze of lemon juice to that. Brighten it up a little bit more. Now I've got 4 eggs in my bowl. I'm just gonna whisk those up. It's sort of like an egg drop soup, but the eggs give it like nice structure and body. Then, because I don't want my eggs to curdle, I'm just gonna put a ladle full of the soup in the eggs and then whisk it to combine it, but not actually cook the eggs. I'll do that 2 or 3 times just to slowly bring the eggs up to temperature. Then I can add the egg mixture back into the soup and whisk it and start to cook the eggs. Okay, then I'm just gonna add some salt and pepper. And just make sure it's heated through, but I don't want it to come to a boil, so I just have it on a low simmer. All right, so it's just coming to a simmer, so I'm just gonna add a little splash of heavy cream, and it'll be done. So this will be a really nice lunch for a winter afternoon with some fresh baked bread and homemade butter. When you raise chickens, you eat a lot of eggs, and I know I get tired of the same old scrambled, fried, over easy, so I've got a super fun breakfast alternative for you that's really easy to make. You're gonna love it. We're making cloud eggs. I love making these in the winter too because it looks like a little sun nestled in a bed of clouds. So cool. So I've separated my eggs and I have the whites in my stand mixer, and I'm just going to whisk them until they form stiff peaks, and I've broken my yolks each into an individual little cup. All right, that looks good. My whites are all beaten. So now I have a cookie sheet that I've got a piece of parchment on, and I'm just going to drizzle some oil onto it to make sure that they don't stick. Brush that on. Then I'm just gonna take a spoon and make little nests out of my egg whites that look like little clouds. However many eggs you're using is how many clouds you want to make. And then I'm just going to make a little indent in the middle, which is where my yolk is going to sit. Okay, those look nice and cloud-like. So now I'm going to put them in the oven at 400 degrees for about 4 minutes. Those look good. They're just a little bit set. And now I'm going to add the yolks. So I'm just going to carefully slide an egg yolk into each little well that I made. Aren't these cute? They look like little suns nestled in clouds. So I'm gonna put them back in the oven for about 4 to 5 minutes until the yolks are set. If you like your yolks more well done, then you can cook them as long as you want if you don't want a runny yolk. But I'm just gonna kind of watch them, and then when the whites start to brown a little bit and the yolks are set, I'm gonna pull them back out. These look perfect. So fun to make. Chicken chores don't end just because the weather gets cold. The coop needs to be cleaned year-round, but a lot of times I can get away with just a partial cleaning or just kind of a touch-up of one area. The roosts or whatever is kind of dirty. I don't like to use bleach or ammonia in the coop because the fumes can be really dangerous for the chickens. Instead, I like to make a natural vinegar-based cleaner. The vinegar is a natural disinfectant and antiseptic, and then I like to add some citrus. I've made orange peel cleaner. This time I'm gonna make a lemon peel cleaner. The citrus oils are a solvent and degreaser, and then I love to add some kind of herb to the cleaner. This time I'm gonna use thyme, which is really good for respiratory health. So by spraying this cleaner around the coop, it's gonna refresh it a little bit, also provide the chickens with a little bit of a boost for their respiratory systems, and it's gonna smell really good. Let's get a lemon into the jar. I make the cleaner right into a mason jar, and it's gonna need to sit for a couple weeks, which is why I'm getting started on a new batch, because I'm gonna be using the batch I made a few weeks ago today. But you wanna let the vinegar smell kind of dissipate, and that's gonna take a while. I'm just gonna kind of rough cut my lemon and put the slices into the jar. Then I've got some fresh thyme here. You can use any type of herb. I like to use mint, lavender, rosemary, really anything that smells nice. And I'm just gonna kind of smush it a little with my fingers. You wanna kind of let some of those oils out and get them working. And then I've just got plain old white vinegar. You don't wanna use apple cider vinegar in your cleaning products. For one thing, it's really expensive, but the white vinegar, it just does a better job. I'm just gonna fill that up. I'm gonna leave a little bit of headroom at the top so I can shake it. That looks good. I'll just shake it up. And I'm just gonna leave this on the kitchen counter, shake it a couple times a day for a couple weeks, just until it starts to really smell more like lemon and thyme than like vinegar. So after a couple weeks, it's gonna look more like this. The vinegar is gonna have taken on a little bit of the color of what you have in it, and it's gonna smell really good. Then you know it's done. Then you just need to strain it and pour it into a squirt bottle, and it's ready to use. And that is my coop cleaner. This also is really great for cleaning your kitchen or your bathroom because it is a sort of a degreaser, and it's just good to use natural products in your home as well as your chicken coop. The air in the house gets really dry in the winter, especially when we have the wood stove going. So I really love to use a nice, gentle exfoliator. This lemon sugar scrub is perfect. So to get started, I'm going to add a cup of sugar to my bowl. Then I'm going to add the juice of 1 lemon. The lemon juice is an astringent and also will help tighten your pores and even out skin tone. And the sugar is a gentle exfoliator and helps with circulation. Next, I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of melted coconut oil. This is a great moisturizer, and it also just smells really good. I like to add some vitamin E to any of the body products I make. Vitamin E acts as a natural preservative, so they'll last a little bit longer, even though I do like to store this in the fridge. But the vitamin E also is an antioxidant. And then lastly, I'm just gonna add some lemon zest. I don't always add the zest, but it just is kind of nice. It adds a little bit more color to the scrub and a little bit more texture. And that should do it. This lemon, I'm actually just gonna pop in the freezer. I like to keep extra lemons if I buy them on sale or whatever in the freezer. If you find lemons on sale, just buy as many as you can and store them in the freezer. So it's all stirred in, and this is what it looks like. It's sort of pasty. I'm just gonna set it aside, let the coconut oil cool down a little bit. It'll turn into something like this, a little bit more sandy, kind of like beach sand. Stir it a couple times just so it doesn't get clumpy. I like to put the finished product in these jars. They're great to give as gifts, and I keep one in the shower. It's a great way to scrub away all that dead skin and a nice morning pick-me-up that smells great. shared so many of my favorite lemon recipes today, but unfortunately citrus is not good for chickens. It's one of the few things that they shouldn't eat. So instead, I'm going to show you how to make one of my chickens' favorite snacks, especially in the winter when there's not a lot of green to eat. I love to make sprouts for them. I started these a couple of days ago. They're lentils, maybe 5 days ago, and they're just about ready. You can see the little green leaves on them. They're just regular lentils from the grocery store, dried lentils. You can sprout dried beans or grains or seeds. It doesn't really matter, the chickens will love them. So all I do is take about a tablespoon or two of the beans, in this case, lentils, put them into a mason jar, and then you're gonna wanna soak them overnight to just kind of wake the seed up. So I just pour in enough water to cover them. So twice a day, just rinse them. I usually leave them upside down in the dish drainer rack to make sure that they're fully drained, and just set them on the counter. They don't need to be in the sun or anything. In a couple days, you'll notice them start to sprout, and then in about a week, you'll have green leaves and they'll be ready. You wanna cover the top of your jar for easy draining. You can use a piece of shelf liner that you cut, or they do sell metal rings that you can put on top just for easier draining. I do try to start a new batch every couple days, so I've got kind of a rolling supply of sprouts for the chickens. They love them. Sprouts are super nutritious, and they're easy and very inexpensive to make as a snack. So there you go. I'll serve them up to the chickens.